Wrestling fans, are you ready? For the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, let's get ready to rumble!
And now, please welcome at this time your hosts, Graham GSM Matthews and RJ Marceau. You're listening to the next era of wrestling radio. This is WrestleRant Radio.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to WrestleRant Radio for Thursday, August 8th, 2026. I'm Graham GSM Matthews. Hope you guys are doing well and having a great weekend so far. This will be a very weird WrestleRant Radio this week, as we are not on a Thursday, we are not live on YouTube, and I am flying solo without Mr. Marceau. So basically what happened was, I came back from SummerSlam week, and I was there from Friday through Monday, and we recorded WrestleRant Radio per usual the Thursday before the pay-per-view, had a great time doing predictions and previews for the premium live event. I left on Friday after seeing Spider-Man Brand New Day, which I thought was a great movie. I have more thoughts on that in my Letterboxd review up right now as well. So I left for Minneapolis on Friday night, arrived there Friday night. I was there all of Saturday, all of Sunday, flew back home on Monday. So a very efficient, quick trip. Had a fun few days in Minneapolis. The city itself was not great. That was actually my first time in the city. No disrespect to those that inhabit Minneapolis. I don't know about the rest of the state in Minnesota, but Minneapolis itself had no real flavor, as I would call it, no real personality. Not in the same way that Indianapolis did when I was there for the Royal Rumble last year or Cleveland last year. I'm not much of a New Jersey fan, so I can't really speak to like fucking Newark. I had driven there. I didn't really walk downtown in Newark. I mean, God forbid. That is definitely worse than Minneapolis. But, you know, I wasn't really in any real danger walking around Minneapolis over the weekend, but there wasn't really anything about it that made me want to go back. Like Cleveland and Indianapolis, both places I thought were really nice when I visited both cities for the respective SummerSlams, Royal Rumbles, Vegas. I've talked about that before, how much I love Vegas at this point and how close everything is. Thankfully, where my hotel was downtown in Minneapolis, it was pretty close to where I had to go for the WWE Media Junket stuff, which I'll get back to in a second, and not far from the stadium for both nights. And then I flew home on Monday afternoon, and I was back in time for Raw on Monday. Literally not even being back for a full 24 hours, I got sick. And I'm not saying I threw up or anything like that. I just really fell under the weather. And that was pretty evident while I was recording on Tuesday for #AskGSM. Now, I woke up that morning, and Monday I felt fine. I was fucking tired from the trip, obviously. But I felt fine. I was very tired, but didn't feel sick or anything along those lines. I wake up Tuesday, didn't feel great. I thought to myself, and I'm glad I did this in retrospect, it definitely did not make me feel better as far as physically, health-wise, but it did put me at ease knowing, okay, I don't have to, and I don't like taking weeks off from doing this show or #AskGSM. I'm thinking to myself at that point in time, if I can just get through this show, then I should be fine for Thursday or Friday to record WrestleRant Radio with RJ, talking about SummerSlam. So if you go back and watch that stream from Tuesday on the channel, I do not sound great at all. I increasingly got more sick as the stream progressed. I thought it was a fun 2-hour stream. We answered a lot of great questions. We had a lot of great comments in the chat, a lot of great support from one Daniel Malcolm. Love you, Daniel. I appreciate that again. And it was a fun stream, but I was definitely struggling by the end there to answer the questions, stay on live, and really just continue talking for a long period of time. I felt like shit after it was over, and I knew at that point I was sick. It did not get any better by the end of the night, and I only felt worse by Wednesday. My plan at that point was to record WrestleRant Radio, maybe Thursday morning with Mr. Marceau if I felt better, but more than likely on Friday. And I told him on Thursday, I texted him and said, hey, I'm still not feeling great. I probably will not feel great by Saturday, or definitely not by Friday. I do feel better a bit today, but I'm far from 100%. It probably is noticeable in my voice. If I sound congested, it's because I am. I am well enough to do this podcast here today, but not well enough for it to be live or, for me to talk for 2 hours, which is really what it would be if I was live today, or to talk to Mr. Marceau if we had him on the phone. He's probably busy this weekend anyway. So I told him we'll hold off till next week. I'll record the podcast on my own when I get a chance this weekend. Sunday I'll be a bit busy, but I figured, okay, I'm well enough today to be able to sit here and talk about SummerSlam and also air an interview that I did over the weekend, which I haven't done here on the show in a while. So I also thought it would be a nice change of pace to do a pre-recorded edition of WrestleRant Radio today. Not only doing what I just did and recounting my experience from SummerSlam, but also airing an interview I did on Sunday morning with one The Miz, who I have talked to before. I have aired interviews that I've done with The Miz many times before here on WrestleRant Radio, including as recently as 2024. And a lot of the conversations I have at these junket these days, just so everyone can get time with each superstar, we all try to tend to go 2 to 3 minutes. Some of them are 60 seconds. Some of them are 5 minutes. And they're usually not long enough to justify me airing the interviews here on the show. But The Miz was so gracious with his time, with everyone that was there, not just me. It's not as if I took up 10 minutes of his time and everyone went like fucking 3 minutes. That would be terrible. He went 10 minutes with me. He went 10 minutes, roughly 8 to 10 minutes with pretty much everyone that was there. He was the first one there at the media junket on Sunday morning, and he was the last to leave even well after it was over. It was pretty remarkable. And I was already saying to someone the day before, Miz is such an incredible asset to that company. He's great. Like, you can plug him in any scenario you want, whether it be hosting the ESPYs or doing the American Championship, the American Century Championship golf tournament, or whatever it is, and he will always excel. He might not be exactly must-see TV in his words in 2026 on WWE television, but he can take any role given to him and make the most of it. And he definitely did that at the press junket on Sunday. So what I'm going to do in a couple of minutes is air that interview that I did with The Miz, which I thought came off really well. You will hear the audio of that interview here on the channel. I will put up the video of said interview here on the channel very soon. What I'll very likely end up doing is airing the interview first for channel members. For channel members under the WrestleRant All Access Pass on YouTube. If you want to check out the full video version of the interview, that'll be up for channel members most likely and ad-free before you could see it if you're a regular channel subscriber. So I'll get to those names in a moment, those that are our channel members. But I'll probably end up doing that in the coming days. I know the upload schedule has been pretty much like very inconsistent for a while now. This past week more than any other week. Really, when I left, it's been completely crazy since then. It's really been a crazy and hectic past few months. But the last week specifically was very kind of all over the place as far as when I can edit content and put up videos and upload and publish and all that other sort of stuff. So that's why my WrestleRant, or rather my live reactions from SummerSlam weekend, kind of went up a bit delayed on the WrestleRant YouTube channel. But I don't think they're all up yet. As of this recording, I have all of my live reactions up from night 1. I'm not sure if I have any up from night 2, but I did take a video of Kevin Owens' return. My reaction to his return. Not like my face reacting to his return. Who gives a shit about that? But like the video I took and the reaction he received when he came out on night 2, which was amazing. So all the night 1 stuff should be up. Night 2 stuff should be up soon. Still so much other stuff I have to go through and review and put up here on the channel at some point. There's just so much content to go through and review and whatnot. All in due time. But that Miz interview should be the first interview up here on the channel. First for channel members. That includes Alexis, Miss Maud Matthews, Dylan Giacomo, Mrs. Renee, Daniel Malcolm, who I mentioned earlier, at I'm Quarter on X, DJ Swerve1, at Swerve1 on IG, Mr. Marceau himself, at RJ_Marceau on X, John Ritland, Real Honesty with John Ritland on YouTube, Richie, Red Planet Wrestling on YouTube, Bill Meister, an Average Grunt, at gruntwrestling.bluesky.social on Blue Sky. $5 a month gets you top billing on #AskGSM and WrestleRant Radio. You get shout-outs at the beginning and end of every single live stream that we do. You also get badges and emojis, access to that sort of stuff in the live chats, on the channel. And also early access to videos like that Miz interview and ad-free before anyone else. Some more information on that is available down below in the description box on this very video on YouTube. New episodes of WrestleRant Radio are, of course, available every single Thursday on WrestleRant.com, WrestleRantRadio.com, and all major podcast platforms, and typically on Thursdays on the YouTube channel as well for the live video version. Not this week. I try hard not to pre-record the show or to not do a show. We haven't not done an episode of the show in maybe close to a fucking decade. It's been a very long time. The only other time since we started doing live WrestleRant radios where I did not go live on the channel was the last time I was sick around Survivor Series week about a year ago. And that was another case of all the travel kind of catching up to me and causing me to kind of lose my voice and feel like shit for a few days going into Thanksgiving. This was, exactly that as well, where all of the travel and all the hecticness of the past few months, and specifically SummerSlam weekend, just not getting a lot of sleep and just being busy with other shit, kind of caught up to me, and here we are. So, not a regular occurrence. We will be back to our regularly scheduled programming, hopefully pretty soon. We should be live again, again, as early as Tuesday's WrestleRant, or hashtag AskGSM rather, and then WrestleRant Radio on Thursday with Mr. Marceau. That being said, though, be sure to like this video, subscribe, turn on notifications on the channel, and what we'll do is air my interview now with The Miz from SummerSlam Sunday, the morning of Night 2 of SummerSlam 2026 in Minneapolis, talking all things CM Punk, the 10-year anniversary of his pipe bomb Talking Smack promo from August 2016, and a few other cool things as well. So, you enjoy my chat with The Miz. We'll be back on the other side with my full on-site report from SummerSlam weekend last weekend.
What do you want to talk about?
Oh, let's talk about
I feel like Cody Rhodes right there. Wow.
We'll get to Cody Rhodes in a second.
All right.
Graham G. Matthews here with Bleacher Report, SummerSlam weekend. Miz, thanks for joining us.
I still get all my sports from Bleacher Report.
Miz, listen, we've met maybe 4 or 5 times.
I know, and I tell you this every time.
You tell me this every time, but you've also given me shit about the grades, and I don't do the grades. Not for your stuff, anyway. I'm just saying.
Are you sure? You know the person, though.
I do, actually.
Yeah, you do,
yes.
don't you?
I do.
You do?
Yes.
So you could say something, right?
What?
So I imagine when I say something about your grades and how they are always terrible and not really realistic of what the show... Like, when I watch the show and I can grade the show.
Okay.
Because I know what it is. When this person grades the show, I feel like they grade like a mark.
Okay.
And
but it's
I feel like Bleacher
negative.
Report's better than that.
Okay.
You're better than that.
But it's not always negative, though.
It's not even that it has to be negative or positive.
Okay.
It's that it reminds me of like a person that I feel like Bleacher Report is very knowledgeable in sports.
Okay.
When I look at all the stuff that's on there, whether it's for fantasy or for football, baseball, basketball, I say top notch, top tier talent on there. When I look at it at wrestling, I go, this guy's a mark.
So it's just wrestling that you have an issue with the grades?
Yeah.
Okay. But when it's positive...
So now you know it's going to be funny. This guy's just going to ruin me. Every time I'm going to get a big fat F.
I don't think so.
All right.
I guess it depends on the circumstance, and it's always nothing against you, and obviously you've been here for so long. I guess that was also part of my question as well. What is, like, not that necessarily, because I know that might be a soft spot to a certain degree, criticism for you at this point? And obviously there's a lot of bad faith takes. There's
By the way, I don't mind criticism.
Well, that's what I'm asking.
As a matter of fact, I encourage criticism because it will make me better.
Yeah.
Sometimes when a fan says something, I'll go, oh, that is interesting. That's a good take on something.
Yeah.
I understand that.
Yeah.
You know, so I'll learn from it. Or if someone's just like, you suck or I hate you, then or you don't deserve to be here, I wish you were fired, this, that, and the other thing, like that puts a chip on my shoulder.
Yeah.
That's what's honestly revved me up for the past 20 years.
Yeah.
Hearing the negativity. I thrive on negativity.
Yeah.
I thrive when I'm the underdog. Even though people don't look at me as an underdog, I look at myself as the underdog always.
Yeah.
And so when I feel like I'm the underdog or I'm not being taken seriously, that's when you get Talking Smack promos.
Yeah. Which we're coming up on the 10-year anniversary of.
Are we?
Yeah.
Jeez.
August 2016.
You know that.
Yeah, I'm good with dates.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really good. Okay.
Yeah.
So the person before you basically said, I have a 20-year anniversary coming up next month for...
On WWE television, probably.
Yes, proper. Yeah, WWE television on WWE, 20 years.
Yeah.
And then when's Talking Smack? When was it?
August.
Was
it was
it
after
August?
SummerSlam 2016, right? It was like the Tuesday after SummerSlam.
I remember I was like taken to...
Because you had the Apollo Crews match at SummerSlam, and it was good, but it was like second or third on the card, and you were probably mad. I mean, obviously, you can enlighten me as to what was going on.
I wasn't mad at that. I was mad at the fact that I got drafted. I got taken to SmackDown, and they weren't using me.
As the Intercontinental Champion.
As the Intercontinental Champion, and they were like, hey, you have a dark match today. And I go, wait, I'm not on the show? And they're like, no, you're the warm-up match.
Yeah.
And I go, wait a second, what are we doing on the show? There's like, yeah, we're introducing 2 new titles. I go, what about this title? What about the title that has mattered to me since I was a child?
Yeah.
And so then I was like, I went to Road Dogg, and I was like, put me on Talking Smack. He's like, why are you on Talking Smack?
Oh, this is all the same day.
It's a brand new show.
Yeah.
Brand new show.
Yeah.
And I was like, put me on Talking Smack. He goes, why? He goes, Daniel Bryan's the general manager. I'm going to take it out on him.
Yeah.
And then literally Daniel and I talked for maybe like a minute, not even, like 30 seconds. Hey, we're going to do this. We don't know what the finish is. Let's just go off and see what happens.
Yeah.
And that's what happened.
Yeah. Do you feel like that was a turning point for you as far as like, because I can see it both ways as far as taking anything that the company gives you and making the most of it, which you obviously still do this day, but then also being like, you know what? No, I'm kind of tired of this. I kind of have to stand up for myself and show them what I'm really capable of, whether it be in the ring or on the mic or whatever it might be.
Yeah, I think I was just very angry.
Okay.
And I remember when I got off, that when I get really angry, my mind turns blank.
Okay.
I don't know what's happening, what's going on. It's kind of scary, actually. And so I got off there, and I was breathing heavy, and I remember my wife going, calm down, calm down, calm down. And I was still angry, even after that. Like, it was just, something hit a switch that I wasn't where I wanted to be, and I know I'm way more talented than what I was given.
Yeah.
That to not be on TV, are you kidding me? I feel like I'm one of the most talented superstars that WWE has or ever had. I deserve to be on TV, and I don't care if it's 5 seconds or 30 seconds.
Yeah.
I can make 5 seconds more valuable than someone can with 10, 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah. And you were having a hell of a year, too.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was a very good year, actually, yeah. And so that was just one of those moments that you kind of just, all the things kind of stewed up, and it worked. Yeah. Sometimes it doesn't work, right?
No, yeah,
you know,
not necessarily.
So you just got to pick your timing right. And I also think, like, I feel like people try to recreate it, which is kind of nice.
I feel like it's almost a crutch now, not necessarily your promo, but to be like, oh, let's break the fourth wall and be frustrated. But that was real emotion. I'm not saying what we see now isn't real emotion, but I feel like we see it so much now, and across all companies, it's not just WWE, where it's not as special. Whereas with you, it was real emotion, and you were like, as you just said, you know, very frustrated. What are your thoughts on that?
I think promos can be special. I thought CM Punk's promo last night after the show was very special. I don't think people give him they give him enough credit on like how he talks and the way he speaks. That's off the top of the head.
He still got it.
Not only does he still have it, I was watching that going, man, you know what I want to see? I want to see the CM Punk with a chip on his shoulder.
You don't think we haven't already seen that?
No.
Okay, since he's been back.
You don't remember CM Punk like I remember CM Punk.
Well, I mean, you worked with him, yeah.
I was there.
Yeah.
And that CM Punk was lethal.
Okay.
Lethal.
Are we talking within reason, though, right? Because there was also a point where he was lethal, but also, like, you guys were, not really you, but he was beefing with you on Twitter. Like, can we put that?
No, that's not that.
Okay.
That's not that at all, actually.
Right.
That's like, I remember when he left, right? Like, right before. Yeah. I remember the feeling, like, the way he was not happy at all, right? Now we see CM Punk in interviews wearing a suit, wearing all these. I'm like, man, that's like, it's almost like
corporate Punk.
That right? Like, I was like, I want Punk, like Punk.
But we got that
Punk.
during the post show last night.
Yeah, so I felt like when I saw that promo, I was like, ooh, I like this Punk. Yeah. I like a Punk that's not the main event. That should be in the main event.
Okay.
That knows he deserves to be in the main event. That's paved the way and has literally just deserves to be where he's at. Yeah. And now he's letting people know, look. But then I also thought of the answer. That's the answer The Miz gives. You know, the answer of, you know, just because I'm not the main event doesn't mean my match isn't the main event.
Okay.
That's like, it's like saying like, you know, I'm not on the card for, when someone says you're not on the card for SummerSlam, well, don't miss it.
Yeah.
Because you never know what's going to happen at SummerSlam.
Yeah.
You know, that's a Miz type of
So you're saying
answer.
that's your job. That's not Punk's job.
Yeah.
Is that what you're telling me? Okay.
Punk's job, well,
Everyone has their different areas.
everyone has their different areas of expertise.
He's not doing
Everyone
American
has
Century
their
Golf
thing.
and getting a hole in one.
He is not. He is
I love.
not.
You guys are two of my favorites, but
He
still.
is not. But yeah, like I saw an ounce of, and I saw him going after Oba, and I went, ooh,
Yeah.
that's a money match
Made
if
me
I've
wanna
ever
see that
seen one.
match. Yeah.
I think a lot of people would want to see that.
Yeah. And last thing for you, you mentioned Cody Rhodes as well. Also, he faced him last night, obviously. Punk beat him to retain the title. You've probably already been asked about it. Cody said about you the other day. I mean, you get this a lot. Like, oh, he's not a good wrestler. He's not a good wrestler. A lot
Do
of bad. I mean, social
maybe
media.
from your guy at Bleacher Report.
No.
Maybe
Listen,
your buddy at Bleacher Report.
social
maybe.
media has a lot of bad faith takes, okay? We can agree on that. So you see a lot of the negative stuff. But Cody stuck up for you and said, people say that Miz isn't a good wrestler. Get the fuck out of here. That's what he said.
I appreciate that.
And obviously, a lot of people say that. But what are your? I mean, he's a friend of yours. So what do you say to
people
that?
say do a lot of people say that?
Say
Well,
what? That you're not good in the ring?
Yeah.
No, some people with the loudest voices with engagement farming is what I'm saying. I think at this point, people have come to respect you. The people
Do you
like
think so?
I think
I don't know. I think I'm still fighting for respect.
A little
But
bit, yeah.
To hear Cody say that, it does warm my heart. I'm not going to lie. It's one of those things where you look at it and you go, oh, thanks, man. I appreciate that. Because I've been in the ring with him. I've seen his first match. I was there at OVW. We grew up basically in this business together. Him, myself, even Punk was down there at OVW. So we grew up in this business, and now seeing, still people from OVW still going and being at the top of the business. It's awesome.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I appreciate the time, Mike.
Appreciate it,
very
man.
much. Big thanks to Miz for the time. Like I said before I aired the interview, that he took his time with pretty much everyone that was in the room that day. And typically these interviews last around 3 to 5 minutes. He went between 8 and 10 with literally everyone that was there, to the point where he had to stay after the fact in order to get everyone in, which was really commendable. And he's always been one of my favorites. So being able to chat with him in person, again, because I've had the chance before in the past, is it's always a treat. And he always gives his all in every single interview that he does. So appreciate The Miz for the time. Like I said earlier, though, if you want to check out the video version of that interview, it should be up soon on the YouTube channel, first for channel members, early and ad-free before going live for everyone else at some point thereafter. What I do want to take the time to talk about now is SummerSlam itself. In Minneapolis, my on-site report from the show. In the time that we do have left, I'll try to get through this to the best of my ability without coughing too much or whatever it might be, trying to battle through the congestion here. But I did think it was a good show, honestly. I saw a lot of conjecture online about, night one sucked or night two was way better than night one. I honestly thought the two nights were pretty even. I thought all in all, it was a successful, satisfying SummerSlam. And honestly, it's kind of hard to call it a success when we're not far removed from it. It only just happened last weekend. If I were to call something a success, to me, that would kind of imply that it successfully shook up the landscape of WWE. It was the shot in the arm that creative team needed. Because going into that show, SummerSlam, or WWE really just as a whole, wasn't really offering anything of much excitement. The product itself felt stale, and there are certain elements of Raw and SmackDown that I do enjoy. I largely do enjoy the shows most weeks. But like we talked about on the show last week with Mr. Marceau, last Monday's Raw, not this past week's Monday's Raw coming out of SummerSlam, the week before that, was an absolutely abysmal effort. Not a great show by any stretch. But I did think they kind of turned things around with SummerSlam. I thought Raw was really good. I actually really liked SmackDown on Friday as well. So I'm kind of glad that we took our time to record the show well after the fact, because it's kind of given me some more clarity on SummerSlam, looking back on it a week removed. But also I could talk about Raw and SmackDown from this past week. It's not very often we can do that, because typically these podcasts go live on Thursdays. But I can kind of give my thoughts on what happened on Raw and SmackDown as well in the wake of a pretty newsworthy SummerSlam weekend. So we'll start with night one here. I thought they started off strong with the Women's World Championship match between Liv Morgan and Io Sky. I don't think those two are capable of having a bad match together. Now, that being said, I did not think their match from Night of Champions in Saudi Arabia back from late June was anything overly special. I thought they had a good match, but not a great match. I thought at SummerSlam they had a great match. I thought this was a really entertaining opener. I thought they worked really well together, kind of kept things moving at a really nice pace for the entire match.
Yeah, you did have the interference from the rest of the Judgment Day, which was annoying. And not only was it annoying that they interfered, but Io Sky had no backup. Even though she had an established ally on Raw going into SummerSlam in Sol Ruca, she was nowhere to be found. I thought this might be where we would see Stephanie Vaquer resurface, and she would help kind of thwart the interference and help Io Sky finally beat Liv Morgan, who she already beat, granted, in the finals of the Queen of the Ring tournament back in late June. But this time she actually would be beating her for the Women's World Championship. That did not happen. They instead opted to save Stephanie for Monday's Raw, which made for a great moment there, and I'll get to that a little bit later on, or really probably right after this match because it is relevant to the Raw Women's division. But we did not get a new Women's World Champion coming out of SummerSlam. Liv Morgan, still the Women's World Champion. That surprise, honestly, or that outcome really, more than probably any other match on either night of SummerSlam, surprised me. I really thought we were getting a new Women's World Champion. Liv Morgan's run up to this point has been fucking putrid. She had been champion, or has been champion now for over 100 days since WrestleMania 42. That was in late April. This was the only televised title defense she has had for her entire run as the Women's World Champion. And she's still the Women's World Champion. Now, could this be a case of this being the turning point going into her run, or going into the rest of her run as Women's World Champion, and she's going to defend the championship more? I would sure as fuck hope so. This was a nice turning point if that was what this was intended to be. But we cannot go another 100+ days without Liv Morgan defending that Women's World Championship. That would be ridiculous. Thankfully, it does appear that they have plans to, give her more competition in the form of the returning Stephanie Vaquer and Becky Lynch, who both resurfaced on Raw on Monday night. I thought that was a pleasant surprise. I expected to see Stephanie back. We have not seen her since the post-WrestleMania Raw. I don't know if she was out for an injury issue. I don't know if she was out for a visa issue, but she is back all the same. That's really all that matters. And we also, like I mentioned, got Becky Lynch back in the mix on Monday night. Now, the thing with Becky that was weird was she was kind of in babyface mode during that segment on Raw. Now, she did kind of utilize some of the lines that she was using during her latest heel run, which I thoroughly enjoyed. I thought Becky was more often than not one of the better parts of Raw for her entire heel run from WrestleMania last year through the spring of this year when she lost the Women's Intercontinental Championship to Sol Ruca. They did not resume that rivalry. She was involved in the Queen of the Ring tournament. She lost in the first round, and we have not seen her in like 2 months, at least until Raw on Monday. She didn't come out to her old theme music. She did come out to her heel music. So that's what makes me think that that character isn't completely gone yet, and I don't think it should be. I don't think she has completely, gotten everything out of that character to the point where now she should go heel. I know she was a heel for about a year between 2021 and 2022, almost exactly 1 year, from SummerSlam to SummerSlam. And this recent heel run went from WrestleMania last year, or around WrestleMania time, because she turned heel on the Raw after WrestleMania, through the Raw after SummerSlam this year. So it lasted a little bit longer, but I just feel like this was a way better character than the heel persona she had a number of years ago. And I don't think it was quite time to turn her babyface just yet. Now, they probably felt like they had to, which is why they did it, because we have a heel Women's World Champion in Liv Morgan. I am not completely convinced that she is a 100% babyface yet. She might be more of a tweener for now. Some of the lines that she was giving at Liv kind of made it sound like she was a babyface now, but that might not be officially confirmed, so we'll have to wait and see on that. I also can't sit here and say that I honestly particularly care about a Liv Morgan-Becky Lynch feud, because we've seen it before. They actually did it once before in early 2022 over the Raw Women's Championship, and again 2 years ago when Liv Morgan went heel and beat Becky for the Women's World Championship, and that was when she kicked off her first run as the Women's World Champion. I don't really have a desire to see that match again. If they want to do a triple threat with Stephanie, Becky, and Liv, and have that bleed into a Stephanie-Becky feud with Becky still being the heel, I think that would work best. I think there will come a time before Becky has to wrap up her current run with the company, and I do think this run of hers, when she re-signed with WWE last year, will be her final active run, unless she extends it or whatever, with WWE as an active superstar. That she'll probably want to go out as a babyface, I would have to imagine. I just think there's more juice there with her as a heel. So hopefully we're not getting a straightforward Becky Liv feud. I would hope this becomes a triple threat, maybe a fatal four-way. We did not see Io Sky on Monday's Raw. She might not be done with Liv Morgan because she technically did get screwed out of the win on Sunday, or rather Saturday night. So we'll see. But I thought that was a really good match from SummerSlam Night 1. The subsequent 6-man tag team match, LA Knight, Royce Keys, and Solo Sikoa battling the Bloodline. This was pretty standard stuff. It was fun, though, seeing them all work well together. Solo Sikoa specifically shined in the babyface role, as we have seen him do going into SummerSlam. I thought he was great here. The crowd was into him. LA Knight was over, as always. A really good spot for Royce Keys, who had a great spot where he took Jacob Fatu over the barricade through, like, the, Bell Keepers area or whatever. I don't know what you would call the spot that he did. I don't remember, but it was some sort of a power slam that he took him over the fucking barricade, which looked awesome. And the baby faces ultimately went over. I was not expecting that either. Not as surprising as Liv Morgan retaining, but still a pleasant surprise nonetheless, as I did figure they would want to keep the heat on the Bloodline and have them go over and have them remain the united front against the babyface team of LA Knight, Royce Keys, and Solo. Worse yet, I did still think they might have Solo turn back on the babyfaces and rejoin the Bloodline. Thankfully, that did not happen, and Solo Sikoa's team went over with LA Knight pinning Jey Uso. Now, I might as well mention this now. We saw LA Knight on Monday's Raw confront Roman Reigns and announce his intentions to challenge him for the World Heavyweight Championship. Now, that will not be Roman Reigns' next title defense. We found out at the end of Raw, and I know I'm bouncing all over the place here, but we found out at the end of Raw on Monday night, in the closing moments as Roman Reigns went back to the curtain following Jacob Fatu's win over Royce Keys in that street fight main event, which was a good main event, we saw Roman Reigns confronted by the AAA General Manager Rey Mysterio, who had proposed something to Roman, basically said, hey, can I speak to you for a minute? Do you know that I'm the AAA General Manager? Roman Reigns says, well, I do now, because Roman Reigns, historically does not watch the product. And they walked off. Now, I thought that would have more to do with the AEW pay-per-view going head-to-head with the AAA show, or should I be more specific to say, the AAA show intentionally going head-to-head with AEW All Out at the end of September. That's not what this is. That is not what this is in reference to. Interestingly, this is something completely different. So we found out a few days later on social media, and we also saw the bracket as well. I don't know some of the people in the bracket. I don't watch AAA consistently enough to know some of these people. I know El Hijo Del Wagner Jr., Psycho Clown, some of the other names I wasn't really familiar with, but basically what they're doing is a tournament to determine Roman Reigns' challenger to the World Heavyweight Championship on Raw in Mexico City next month. Now, I think this is the Raw before that AAA AEW show weekend. It might be 2 weeks before that. Regardless, they're doing Raw in Mexico, which I was aware of, in the middle of September. I think SmackDown too. And not only are they doing Raw and SmackDown in Mexico, which is really cool, they're having Roman defend the fucking title on Raw. I could not tell you the last time Roman Reigns defended the championship on free television. Probably dating back to mid-2022 when he defended the championship against Matt Riddle. That would have been on SmackDown in 2022, the night that Brock Lesnar came back. Brock Lesnar came back and fought Roman again at SummerSlam in that great last man standing match at SummerSlam. After that, though, he was pretty much... he did wrestle on TV a time or two after that. He did wrestle on Raw last January against Solo Sikoa in that Tribal Combat match. But I don't think he has defended the championship on Raw or challenged for a championship on Raw since 2022. And that would have been against Matt Riddle. On Raw, I don't know the last title match that he would have had on Raw was, because when he was Universal Champion, he was defending that championship on SmackDown, not on Raw. So it's been a long time, to say the least. It's been a very long time since Roman Reigns was involved in a World Championship match on Monday Night Raw, live in Mexico. So that's going to be really cool. Without even going through the bracket, I'll tell you right now, I want Penta to win. Now, I know some had said, maybe Rey Fénix. None of these guys are obviously beating Roman Reigns to win the World Heavyweight Championship. That goes without, that goes without saying. That also should go without coughing as well, but I apologize, I can't help myself. But Roman Reigns and Penta sounds like a big marquee match. Rey Fénix versus Roman would be great. if they didn't unfortunately already position Rey Fenix as kind of a jobber on the show. Now, I know he has the AAA Cruiserweight Championship or whatever it is. I know he's defended that championship a few times. He's defended that championship a few times on SmackDown in recent months against Axiom or Fraxium, whatever the fuck, and JD McDonough recently on SmackDown. That's all well and good. He is no threat to Roman Reigns. Unless that was supposed to be the turning point and they started booking him as more of a threat from that point forward, and he had this stellar showing against Roman on Raw, I would love to see the match. I just think Penta makes more sense. He's already kind of at that level. Penta's an upper mid-carder as it is. He's really fucking over. People love Penta. And Penta has no clear direction right now. He just lost the Intercontinental Championship to Chad Gable at SummerSlam, which I'll get to momentarily. This would be an awesome opportunity for him to show what he can do in a main event spot. Maybe it doesn't end up being anything more than just a basic main event, pretty ho-hum WWE main event Raw style match. But it would be a great opportunity for Penta nonetheless. It's either him or Phoenix, and at the very least, the finals of this tournament, all due respect to the AAA guys in this tournament, it's got to be Penta and Phoenix in the fucking finals. I mean, there's a good chance that it could end up being someone else, and I might have a different opinion if El Hijo del Vikingo was still around, not hurt. Him against Roman Reigns would have been absolutely insane if they were to go through with that. But he's not around. He got hurt about a month or two ago, so he's not around right now. I would say it has to be Penta. And again, Penta's not fucking beating Roman Reigns for the championship, but I just think on paper that would be a really cool opportunity. And if it also means we get Penta and Phoenix out of it for the first time ever in WWE, I don't even know if we got that match in AEW one-on-one. To be honest, I know they ran that match a few times in Lucha Underground many years ago. I don't know if we ever got it in TNA. I don't know if we ever got it in AEW. One-on-one anyway. It'd be pretty cool if we got that as a Raw match one of these days to set up Roman and Penta for the World Heavyweight Championship on Raw in Mexico. So just wanted to mention that. But all signs do look like it is leading to Roman and LA Knight as the next major program over the World Heavyweight Championship based on their interaction on Monday's Raw this past week. I thought it was an entertaining exchange. We know LA Knight is not beating Roman for the belt. I'm not convinced LA Knight is ever winning that championship, but it's a logical spot for him to be in. He was already feuding with the Bloodline. It's been either the Bloodline or the Vision that he's been feuding with now for the better part of the past 3 years. But it's a big spot nonetheless. It would effectively take him out of the Money in the Bank ladder match if they do save that match for that show. That's going to be in October. But let's face it, we knew LA Knight was not winning the briefcase anyway. We've already been through this in 2023, 2024, 2025. He was not winning it in 2026. But him facing Roman and Roman having to beat LA Knight on his own, without the assistance of the rest of the Bloodline, that's a good story. I like that. So I like that as the next program, the next direction for the World Heavyweight Championship. Back to SummerSlam Night 1, I really enjoyed Gunther and Nick Aldis. I thought Nick Aldis looked great out there in his official WWE in-ring debut. I know he took this very seriously. He spoke in depth about it to Chris Van Vliet, which the interview I watched in its entirety before, I think it was maybe after his match. I watched it last Saturday when I got back to my hotel, but you could tell this meant a lot to him. Even without watching that interview, you could tell from watching him going into the ring for this match, in the ring for this match, that it meant the world. Having his wife, Mickie James, there, his son, I thought that was really cool. My only nitpick with this match was that I wish it had lasted a few more minutes. It was only like 11 minutes. He effectively tapped out to Gunther. I thought the match that we got prior to that point was really good. I thought they were well on their way to having a great match. It was a good match that could have been great had they stretched out the drama a little bit more and given it more time. I might be mistaken. Gunther's match with Pat McAfee might have lasted longer than this did, which if so, that is absolutely fucking egregious. Nick Aldis absolutely should have lasted longer than he did, but at least it wasn't a squash, and he didn't need to win. Gunther needed, I say this is a big win, but it's not exactly like, a big credibility booster to be beating the fucking general manager of SmackDown. But he needed this win more than Aldis did, and hopefully this is not the end of Aldis' in-ring journey in WWE. Hopefully they bring him back in an in-ring role. It would be very weird to continue on with him in this role as the GM on SmackDown and act as if this never happened. I feel like we will see him back in the ring again. I know I saw the report from WrestleVotes that had indicated that there is the belief he will wrestle again, but not until 2027. That tells me, all right, see you in the fucking Royal Rumble. which makes sense to me. But I would like to see him in the ring on a more, maybe not every week, but in a more regular basis than like once a year. So hopefully that happens. Fatal Influence versus Paige and the Bella Twins, Brie and Nikki Bella, was not a great 6-person tag team match, a great 6-woman tag team match. Not exactly the fun 6-person tag that we got earlier in the show from LA Knight, Royce Solo, and the Bloodline. This was fine. It did not help that Brie got legitimately hurt at one point during the match, which was pretty clear, kind of hard to see from where I was sitting in the crowd personally, but became pretty evident from the replays that I saw, the post-match angle where Nikki Bella laid out Paige, which was well overdue. I think Paige and Brie made for a fine team coming out of WrestleMania, but, you know, the Bella Twins should be the real team there. Paige did not need to be aligned with them full time. The Bella Twins are at their best as heels, and Paige, I think, should be on her own. Now, it won't be Paige and a partner versus the Bellas. It kind of feels like, kind of feels like we're back in 2014, 2015 with this whole feud, but just because Brie's out. So it's going to be Paige and Nikki one-on-one for the foreseeable future. I don't know how long Brie's going to be out. It sounds like it's going to be for a while. So if they had any plans for Paige to team with anyone, they're going to have to throw those plans out the window. Now, I don't know if it was supposed to be Tatum Paxley, who we saw pop up on SmackDown on Friday, which was great to see her getting involved in the whole Charlotte, Alexa, Jade Cargill stuff seemed pretty fucking random to me. So I don't know if Tatum was supposed to be your partner, or I was thinking more so AJ Lee. I don't think AJ's definitively done. I think we will see AJ again, and having her reunite with Paige would have been a cool moment. She still might. We did see that match once before, WrestleMania 31. It was Paige and AJ. I think the only time they ever teamed. They probably teamed on, I take that back. They definitely teamed while they were feuding in 2014, but they last teamed in one of AJ's final matches in 2015, and they beat the Bella Twins, actually, at WrestleMania 31. Maybe we'll still get to that point, but it's going to have to be on the back burner for now with Brie being hurt. CM Punk and Cody Rhodes for the undisputed WWE Championship. I liked the match. I thoroughly enjoyed the match. It got a lot of time. It definitely did take time to kind of kick into the next gear, and they did kind of miss the mark as far as getting into that next gear. We got a lot of near falls, a lot of suspense. It just kind of felt like it was missing something. And I hope the intention was that they were holding out on purpose because they knew a rematch is coming. I would say on a bigger stage than SummerSlam. The only stage bigger than SummerSlam is WrestleMania. So maybe they'll go out at WrestleMania and have an even better match. I'm sure when we get the rematch, hopefully it will be better. This just didn't quite reach that great category to me. But it was very good. I did think it was largely very well wrestled. CM Punk should never do a fucking moonsault again. I know he did confirm either on a talk show or on his Instagram somewhere that that was an ode to Terry Funk. Terry Funk's moonsault also did not look that great. It doesn't mean you have to nearly fucking kill yourself by doing a tribute to Terry Funk. There were probably other ways he could have done a tribute to Terry without doing the moonsault. But regardless, it did make for a funny moment when he went for it and completely fucking missed it, and it looked awful. But the big top takeaway coming out of this match is that we have Randy Orton back attacking Cody Rhodes. I did think the two had a great verbal exchange on Friday's SmackDown. Long overdue. Because as we all know, their feud going into WrestleMania was fucking terrible. I mean, it started out well enough with that initial angle where Orton went heel, but then they had to get Pat McAfee involved, and that whole thing was awful. It was terrible. They completely ruined the rivalry going into WrestleMania. They tried to have a really good match at Mania, and of the match that we got, it was good, but it was marred by bad booking and interference from Jelly Roll and Pat McAfee. It was awful. You know for a fact they were setting or building towards Jelly Roll and Cody versus Randy and Pat for Backlash. Thank God that did not happen. We have not seen Pat McAfee since WrestleMania. We may never see him in WWE again. I feel like we will. Maybe they'll pretend that never even happened. But Orton at least is back, and he's back for Cody Rhodes. And it will not be over the WWE Championship. That's what I like most about this. They can resume the rivalry, and it is not the focal point of SmackDown. It might still end up closing SmackDown and being the focal point. I would hope not. If Punk's still the champion, he's not being overshadowed. But I like Cody being out of the championship picture for the first time in a long time. Because even when he lost the belt, the two prior times, he was still in the mix. I mean, he was chasing to get it back, and then he did. He was chasing to get it back this third time, but then he failed. at SummerSlam. So now he'll have to deal with Randy Orton for the foreseeable future. I like that. I like that as a non-title feud for the fall season on SmackDown. And then we get to the main event on this show, Oba Femi versus Brock Lesnar inside Hell in the Cell. I thought it was entertaining enough for the time that it was given. What we got to see from this match I thought was good. It was not great, nor did it need the Cell ultimately. Could they have made more of the Cell and really utilized the steel and made this, real epic battle out of it? Absolutely. And I thought they would. I thought that was kind of the primary reason as to why they announced it as a Hell in the Cell match. And the fact that Brock is undefeated, or was rather at this point undefeated inside the Cell, didn't really do anything to me or for me. I didn't really care about that. Brock using the tombstone on Oba on the exposed wood and then Oba kicking out, like the no-selling thing I could kind of do without. I know what they were going for. I thought it made for a good finish. I did think it was odd that Oba would take the tombstone on the exposed wood, kick out, but not hit his own finisher on Brock on the exposed wood. I mean, was that a step too far for Brock to not take that bump on the wood? I know he's older now, but still. Why even at that point expose the wood? That kind of just seemed unnecessary to me. The whole stipulation seemed unnecessary if they were not going to make the most of it. They did not. The plunder they used was good, but at that point, it could have just been a standard, ordinary WWE street fight. It still would have been underwhelming regardless. But you don't do a fucking 11-minute main event inside Hell in the Cell. I mean, that's got to be the shortest Hell in the Cell match. One of the shortest Hell in the Cell matches in WWE history. That did not end in like a no contest on Raw back in the late 90s. I can't think of a Hell in the Cell match that was shorter than that one that we got on night 2, at least in recent memory. Again, what we got was good, and the important thing is that Oba won. He won decisively, and Brock Lesnar endorsed him afterward. Whether that was the plan or not, or Brock... that was an impromptu, off-the-cuff thing. It probably was not. It was probably planned this time, unlike when he endorsed Cody Rhodes at SummerSlam 3 years ago. I thought that was the right call. And Brock did make it clear on the Tuesday after SummerSlam on Pat McAfee's show that he is indeed retired. He is indeed done in the ring. And I think that's for the best. I mean, he even made it clear in the interview that he felt like he could not take another bump. He took a bump from Oba at WrestleMania. And he knew at that point, I'm done. And I would love to know if him taking off his boots in the moment at WrestleMania was indeed an in-moment decision, and he really wanted to be done after that, realizing, all right, I can't do this anymore. But they wanted him to come back for one more match at SummerSlam in Minneapolis because that's where he's from. Now, I assume that it was probably the plan the whole time for him to wrestle at SummerSlam. I am not convinced that they were always going to do a 3-match series. Because I think at one point, one of the plans was to have Gunther face Brock at SummerSlam and probably have him be the one to put out Brock and have him be the one to retire Brock. And then plans changed and that didn't happen. And that's fine. Oba beating Brock was the next best thing. Either Oba or Gunther or Braun. It could not have been like a fucking CM Punk. And it would have been nice to get Punk and Brock again. But at the same time, their last match at SummerSlam, no less, was 13 years ago. That match would have been nowhere near as good in 2026. And I think that match that we got on Saturday between Oba and Brock made that pretty clear, that Brock has got nothing left in the tank, even on a part-time basis. So that was the best possible way outside of what we saw at WrestleMania for him to go out. And he put over Oba on his way out. And they aired the same video package they aired for him after WrestleMania earlier this year. They aired it again with a few other names incorporated and some more footage in there from this past weekend, making it clear that Brock is done. Will Brock wrestle again? I would not be shocked. The man will come out of retirement for a quick payday any day of the week, I'm sure. Do I think he gives a fuck about honoring his legacy as a retired superstar? No, I could totally see him back for a future show, especially in Saudi Arabia. Do I think he'll wrestle in Saudi Arabia and break his retirement for a second time after teasing retirement at WrestleMania last year to come back for a WrestleMania this coming year in Saudi? No. I'm thinking more of like a Royal Rumble run-in or just a one-off match in Saudi down the road, a la Shawn Michaels or Goldberg or someone like that. I don't see that happening as soon as WrestleMania 43. I don't think he has to wrestle again at all, because clearly, like I said, he has nothing left in the tank, and he's retiring for a reason. But at least Oba Femi won. That was really what mattered most to me. On to night 2. I did think night 1 was good. I enjoyed night 1, but I do think overall night 2 just had some better moments. in some better matches overall. So it probably ended up, if I had to choose, being the slightly stronger of the two nights, but it wasn't without its low points either. We'll get into that. The opener of the show saw Kevin Owens return and be entered into the undisputed WWE Championship #1 contenders match, which was supposed to be between Sami Zayn and Finn Balor. Nick Aldis came out right before the bell was supposed to ring and introduced Gunther into the match, as well as Kevin Owens, who we have not seen on WWE television, outside of a few, LFG and some other appearances in NXT and whatnot. He has not been seen since before WrestleMania 41, when he was supposed to face Randy Orton. Now, they're not going back to that feud right now. They can't. I mean, I guess they could, because Owens is a babyface. Orton is a heel. They would just have to reverse the roles from what they were going for before, Owens got hurt. But no, it looks like he's back in babyface mode for now. And not only that, he's the #1 contender to the WWE title, which means, as we all know and saw on SmackDown this week, that we're getting Kevin Owens and CM Punk next for that fucking title, which is amazing. And I thought the small taste of what we got from them on SmackDown on the mic was a lot of fun. It was great stuff. They have only scratched the surface, I feel, of what they're capable of on the mic in the ring together. So hopefully we get more of that. It was confirmed on SmackDown that Kevin Owens will get his shot at Punk for the WWE title on SmackDown in 2 weeks in Toronto. Now, the only reason they're doing that there, it is egregious they would rush into the match that quickly, but they're in Toronto. They're in Kevin Owens' home country. So it makes sense to give him the shot on that show in that city. I really fucking hope they give him the belt. And I really hope this is not the end and just a one-off and they move back on to, Cody and Punk or another random challenger for Punk going into Money in the Bank. I think Punk and Owens also has to be the match of Money in the Bank. They will very likely just have Punk steamroll right through Owens and not lose the belt once. If you're going to have a champion lose the title before WrestleMania, I think it's more likely that it's going to be CM Punk over Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns, I understand, wanted to keep strong if they really want to maximize that win. Then Oba Femi will inevitably get over Roman Reigns and make it feel important because Roman hasn't lost since, I don't know when, since last year or whatever. But with CM Punk, I know the championship, they've played hot potato with it a few times this year. I think he can't afford to lose the belt, and it wouldn't really damage him or the championship. It would just be a great fucking moment for Kevin Owens. And this might be the closest he ever comes to holding that championship again. He has gotten unlimited opportunities over the years against AJ Styles, Kofi Kingston, Cody Rhodes. Who else did he challenge for the championship? Roman Reigns, God forbid. We know he had fucking 3 or 4 matches with Roman Reigns over the Universal Championship and never won it. But I think now makes the most sense to pull the trigger and put the title on him. Do I expect them actually to do that? I don't. But I am going to enjoy the feud, and I hope it sure as fuck extends past that SmackDown in 2 weeks in Toronto, because if it doesn't, that's a massive issue. Baron Corbin and Trick Williams I thought was fine. It was not a great match. It wasn't even the worst match on the show. I saw a lot of people poo-pooing on this match. It was not even the worst match on the show. That easily went to the human monies on a pole match between Danhausen and Dominic Mysterio. Care less, I could not. That match, I just did not give a shit about. That was less said about that, the better. Dominic Mysterio losing to fucking Danhausen, while still the AAA Mega Champion, is absolutely egregious. Corbin and Williams wasn't quite that bad, but it also wasn't great either. They just didn't really click. They didn't work well together. I thought they had a much better match on SmackDown with a better crowd, better atmosphere on Friday, where Corbin again beat Williams to retain the championship. They're actually doing Corbin and Carmelo Hayes one-on-one for the belt next week on SmackDown in Boston. So, I don't know if they'll put the belt back on Hayes there. It's nice to see Corbin win. That was my top takeaway here. Corbin has been very well booked since returning to WWE. This is easily the best booked he has been on the main roster in many, 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 many years. I know that's not saying much. It's a very low bar, but it's been at least, it's got to be since the King of the Ring tournament. And even before that, the stuff with like Rollins was garbage. But like you go back to 2020, the stuff with Romans was awful. The stuff with Roman Reigns was fucking terrible. The other shit he was doing as King of the Ring was terrible. Bum-ass Baron Corbin was funny, but it lasted like all of 2 weeks. Happy Corbin was awful. They brought him back to the main roster in 2024, did nothing with him. So this is the best booked he has been on the main roster in a very long time. I would not interrupt that momentum. And I like Trick Williams, but I think actually losing the championship for a little bit could help him in the long run. I would get little Yachty out of the act. Mr. Marceau and I were texting about that during the show. They have a cute little thing going, but it's not adding enough to the act to justify keeping him with Trick. I honestly think he's taking more away from Trick than he is adding to Trick's act and matches at this point. But I am glad we have a new United States champion. Chelsea Green is the new interim WWE Women's Champion, possibly soon to be official WWE Women's Champion, coming off of Rhea Ripley's update on X in all of social media a few days ago. She is indeed hurt. I think she underwent surgery for her knee. It does not sound like she will be back anytime soon. Now, I'm not going to say this just because we now know she's hurt for a while. I already said this a few weeks ago with Mr. Marceau. The whole interim thing is fucking stupid. I don't know if we talked about it last week, probably the week before that, but the whole interim thing was nonsense. So, I mean, on WWE.com, the last time I checked, it still does say interim WWE Women's Champion. Rhea Ripley is not listed at all. I would just make her the official WWE Women's Champion, because I doubt Chelsea Green will be champion for the entire time that Rhea Ripley is gone for. They'll probably book her as an underdog champion. But I was happy for Chelsea. My only concern here, this was a great reaction, by the way. The match itself was fine. It was more about Chelsea and the crowd rallying behind her and giving her a great reaction. My only hesitation here is this, is that they will book her like shit, and then her reign will be terrible. She already got beat by fucking BFAB in tag team action the week before. The week before this, on the SmackDown before SummerSlam. She got pinned in tag team action on Friday. Not even Tiffany. Tiffany has been beaten before. It's not like Tiffany's undefeated. She could have easily absorbed the loss on Friday. They had Chelsea get pinned instead by fucking Fallon Henley, who I like, but come on. JC Jane is the one getting the shot next week, I think against Tiffany. Not even Chelsea. Not even Chelsea. So I thought that was a mistake. If you're going to put the belt on Chelsea, that's great. It does feel fairly random. Now, she is over. They're all about moments. But the only way you make this matter is if you book her properly and not to constantly fucking lose and be made to look like a loser. At that point, you're just damaging whatever credibility that belt has. Please do not do that. I already talked about Danhausen and Dominic. Penta versus Chad was good. I thought they had a well-worked, solid match. A very solid wrestling match. Another match that could have been better with more time. I thought what we got was enjoyable, but it was just too short to really get to that next level. But what we got was very good. Chad Gable did indeed win, walks away as the new Intercontinental Champion, finishing the story. A title that has eluded him for a very long time now. Penta had a great run. So nothing lost in Penta dropping the belt here. Chad Gable, big win for him. Got the nice feel-good family moment afterward. The whole mug sponsor thing, I didn't honestly even understand what the fuck was going on, because in the building, I don't think anyone on the screens that I was watching, they did not identify the fucking mascot. On commentary they did, on ESPN they did. I guess, it was a whole mug sponsor thing. They didn't really make that clear to the people in the building. But at least Chad Gable is the Intercontinental Champion. All is right with the world. I thought that was great. And then the main event, Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins for the World Heavyweight Championship, I thought was a very good match. I thought this was a great match, and exactly what I expected it to be, in that it was slower paced, cinematic in vibe and whatnot. These are the matches that Roman typically excels at. We got something a lot similar with him and Punk. I thought the Punk match was better from WrestleMania, but I'm not going to sit here and say this match wasn't great. And I did figure they would go out there and have a great match as soon as this was announced a few weeks ago. I was not wrong. It was about a month ago at this point, but they went out there and had a great match. A lot of callbacks. A lot of suspenseful near falls, despite the outcome never really ever feeling like it was truly in doubt. You had to know Roman Reigns was going to retain. Rollins, the whole story was that Rollins has never lost to Roman decisively one-on-one on a big stage. Roman Reigns had to retain here. That's exactly what happened. What made it even better was the post-match kind of embrace between the two, honoring the Shield. I thought that was wonderful. I thought that was really well done. They even had some tributes to Dean Ambrose during the match. Jon Moxley may never come back to WWE, and if he does, it probably would only be for a Hall of Fame induction much later down the road. But I thought their tributes to Dean, even during the match, were really well done, with the lazy lunatic lariat, whatever the fucking thing they called it, the wacky clothesline, and then the dirty deeds. Not very well executed by either guy, but they tried. And it was a fun match. I really enjoyed the match. I thought it was honestly probably the best match of the weekend. So it was fitting that they closed out the show with it on Sunday night. It was the appropriate main event. I know a lot of people were hoping that Punk and Cody would go on last, either on night 1, night 2. If that was going to be the match they were going to have, and that was going to be the finish of said match, I think they made the right call in having Roman Reigns and Rollins go on last for the entire weekend. So that closed out SummerSlam. I thought overall it was a thumbs-up show. Not a great SummerSlam, but a good SummerSlam. And honestly, these SummerSlams are so hard to judge because there's 2 nights now. You know, like even the Manias. I haven't really gone back and watched any of the Manias from the last 5 to 6 years. One, because I've been there and that's enough for me, but also because there's just so much content. You know, they're 3 hours each are these SummerSlam nights. This is the second year they've done this. I don't think this needed to be a two-night event. I don't. Like, you look at this card, obviously you could benefit from having more women's representation, but like Fatal Influence versus Paige and the Bellas, you could have axed that right away. Even the men's 6-man tag team match, you did not need on the show, even though I enjoyed the match. You could have axed those 2 matches, Baron Corbin versus Trick. I don't want to say the ladder match for the women's title. I think Chelsea or Charlotte and Jade 1-on-1 for the belt would have been fine. Danhausen and Dominic, you absolutely could have fucking gotten rid of. But you could have definitely made this a tight 4-hour, one-night show. Less commercials, too. With 2 nights, you have more commercials. And some of these matches, even with 2 nights, did not get a ton of time. It's just the idea that some of these people are on the show. You know, oh, you got the Lash Legend on the show. It's like, okay, but what does that mean if they're not really getting enough time? You know what I mean? But I did think it was a good SummerSlam overall. I don't know if it was better than last year. I think it was kind of in line with how good last year's SummerSlam was. Last year's SummerSlam was a bit of a mess. It's probably more inconsistent than this year's was. I just remember being there last year and thinking a lot of the booking decisions, specifically on night 2, were very questionable. But yeah, enjoyed SummerSlam overall. And like I said, these shows do not need to be 2 nights. They really should scale back from doing 2-night SummerSlams. They don't need 2-night Rumbles either. I don't know if it was WrestleVotes that reported it or what, but there was a lot of speculation this past week that WWE is already eyeing and doing 2-night Royal Rumble shows. And it would be very easy for people to say, oh yeah, 1 Rumble one night, 1 Rumble the next. No. It's not that easy. I don't even really think doing 2 Rumbles in the same night is a great idea, but I get doing one for the women and doing one for the men. The pacing of the Rumbles to me is not the issue. The pacing of the shows, when you do one night and 1 the other, I just don't really think that makes sense. I really don't. I think that should only be reserved for WrestleMania, because that is the only show. And even then, I wasn't really sold on making it 2 nights previously. I like the idea now. They've sold me on it now. I don't know what a 1-night WrestleMania would look like under Triple H, because the 1-night WrestleManias under Vince ended up being pretty fucking bad by the end there. By like 2017, 2018, 2019, like lengthwise. 2016 as well. 31, for some reason, was a tight 4-hour show, and it was the perfect show. 32, 33, 34, and 35. They got too cute with it, and the show was like fucking 7 hours. I don't know why. But we do not need 2-night Rumbles. We do not need 2-night SummerSlams. It just results in more commercials. If that's what WWE is nowadays, we don't need fucking 2 nights. It's nice for me to go there and get more content, spend a longer weekend there. I do like that, but I think really even putting that aside, it should be only reserved for WrestleMania. Those are the shows, that is the show that is the most special, that should have the most amount of matches and the most amount of representation. If fucking Fatal Influence is not at SummerSlam, it's not that big of a deal. Danhausen is not wrestling at SummerSlam, I think we will live. We'll be okay. All right? And I just feel like when you watch these shows, and because you got to fit in 12 matches, and they only get 11 minutes, was this always an issue, even when we had 1 night? I mean, the show doesn't have to be 5 hours, but I just feel like there's a happy medium there where not every match has to be 20 minutes, but these matches also should not be going 11 either, with the excessive amount of commercials in between, which I've really just accepted at this point. But you're only really getting more of that shit when you have 2 nights, and it makes these shows almost impossible to want to go back and rewatch without having to fucking skip through every little commercial if you're watching after the fact on ESPN. So that's really about it. I've talked about everything from this past week in WWE for the most part. I'm sure there's stuff that I'm missing. Dynamite Wednesday, I will say this very quickly. I don't really have a whole lot of time here, but I did enjoy the show. I feel bad this wasn't, I don't have more thoughts on AEW this week, but I thought they had a great episode of Grand Slam Mexico of Dynamite in Mexico on Wednesday. The crowd looked great. They sounded great. The whole arena looked great. It was an awesome vibe. Kind of the same vibe they had last year in Mexico, if not better, actually. And MJF was back. That was kind of the big moment from the show. That was the best part of the show. The rest of the show is just a lot of wrestling. It was a 3-hour episode, which was, again, too long for an episode of Dynamite, but at least it was a fun show. And we got a lot of great matches. We have All In coming up in a few weeks, so for which we will do predictions at the end of August. I don't think that would be next week, but rather in 2 or 3 weeks, if I'm not mistaken. We will do predictions then. I think in 3 weeks from this past Thursday. And I feel I don't like that SummerSlam is too early on in August now, because it feels like it doesn't really give me something to look forward to in the month of August. But at least we have All In. We have All In now at the end of the month, and that should be a possibly even better show, because last year's All In, and really All In for the last few years, has been great. So I'm looking forward to that show at the end of August. The only other thing that happened this week that I forgot to mention was Big Cass being back on Monday's Raw. Great to see him. I thought he looked excellent. I always kind of felt like he was underutilized in AEW. I kind of felt like it was a mistake he didn't go back to WWE initially after leaving TNA 4 years ago. But he had some success there. He was involved in the Jericho stuff. He was a former tag team champion with Ricky Starks. Now they're back in the same company. And he's on his own. That, to me, is really the top takeaway. They didn't really... Maybe they will eventually put him back with Enzo, but not now. And I think that's the right role for him. I feel like the most money to be made with Big Bill is on his own. Enzo is a fucking goof, and they were a great tag team a decade ago, but Enzo on his own kind of sucks. I don't even really care to see him as a manager for Big Cass. I'd rather just see Big Cass do his own thing on his own. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Enzo would complement his act nicely. But I think having him go at it on his own is a perfectly fine way to go for now. So it was great to see him back on Raw, and immediately being programmed with Javon Evans, I feel like, is the way to go. Speaking of Javon Evans, he had a match with Ethan Page. I'm not reviewing Raw, but I want to mention this. I did also talk to Javon Evans this past weekend at SummerSlam, Ethan Page as well, Matt Cardona, and Blake Monroe as well. So those interviews should be up at some point. I'm just very backed up in uploading content to the channel just because I've been sick and busy, and it's a recurring cycle. But keep an eye out for that stuff. Do want to shout out the channel members that make this show possible and make everything on the channel possible. That includes Alexis, Miss Maud Matthews, Dylan the Giacomo, Mrs. Renee, Daniel, Malcolm at Unquarter on X, DJ Swerve1 at Swerve1 on IG, Mr. Marceau at RJ_Marceau on X, John Ritland, Real Honesty with John Ritland on YouTube, Richie Red Planet Wrestling on YouTube, Bill Meister and Average Grunt at gruntwrestling.bluesky.social on Blue Sky. And like I said earlier, all of those channel members should be getting the early and ad-free version of my Miz interview that I aired earlier, the video version of that here on the channel before anyone else. So keep an eye out for that if you are a channel member. Other perks are included as well. All of that is included down below in the description box on the video on YouTube. If you're listening on any of the podcast platforms or on WrestleRant.com or WrestleRantRadio.com, thank you very much. The video version goes live typically on Thursdays on YouTube.com/WrestleRant. Be sure to like the video, subscribe, turn on notifications for every time we're live. I was not live for WrestleRant Radio this week, of course, due to being under the weather, but we should be back on track starting Tuesday for #AskGSM. By that point, I should be significantly better, and I'm not as congested or as coughing as much. Fingers crossed anyway. That's coming up on Tuesday. That'll be live again, most likely on the channel. So with all that being said, guys, thank you again all for the support for a successful SummerSlam weekend. It was a lot of fun being there, but now we get back on the saddle, get back to full health, hopefully, in the coming days. And I'll see you guys on Tuesday for #AskGSM right here on the channel. So until next time, guys, enjoy the rest of your weekend. I'm Graham GSM Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.
Join Graham GSM Matthews and RJ Marceau every Thursday as they run down their weekly wrestling rants, offer expert analysis, host exclusive interviews, and more. Subscribe today on all your favorite podcast platforms and never miss an episode of WrestleRant Radio.